Good evening, I'm Adrian Arsenault. Andrew is away. Tonight, new COVID enforcement measures in Quebec. Worrisome new projections in Ontario.
We do need to have a stronger reaction.
Similar daily cases, so why the different messages?
We offer a gift and a solution to biodiversity loss.
Can a new Canadian pledge stop biodiversity disaster?
It really was an embarrassing moment for the United States.
Why white supremacists think they got a shout-out from Donald Trump. And a bust so big it's got an action movie code name.
People were coming from all over, essentially, to gamble at this location.
The mansion takedown dubbed Endgame. This is The National. Health officials have a troubling COVID-19 forecast for Canada's largest province tonight, while the country grapples as a whole with an increasing caseload. This is Canada's resurgent curve over 1 month. Like the first wave, the overall trend is acceleration. So is Ontario's. Its officials today warn the province could see 1,000 cases per day in just 2 weeks. Now compare that to today's numbers across the country. BC saw 125 new cases. Alberta, 153. Once again, Central Canada had many more. Ontario with 625, Quebec, 838, both up from yesterday. Ontario's premier called the prospect of what's coming deeply concerning, but he did not announce any new measures, even as a number of health experts say it is time. Magda Gebrselassie starts our coverage tonight.
Breakfast is served, but business is slow for the Yeltsin brothers.
We mortgaged everything we can to build this restaurant.
And since reopening, they've invested in safety measures like plexiglass indoors, air purifiers, and hand sanitizers.
I feel like we're just always trying to get ahead of the game.
But can the province get ahead of this virus? Today's COVID-19 modeling paints a grim picture.
We will see a dramatic increase in the number of cases, with cases now doubling every 10 to 12 days.
Projections of about 1,000 new cases daily by mid-October. Cases spilling over into the older groups. Concerns that ICU beds fill up. All indicators were moving towards what happened in Victoria, Australia. But there, swift action was taken.
We haven't seen any jurisdiction that has seen a drop in cases without stricter measures.
And yet, no new measures, no talk of a lockdown or rollback.
I don't believe in taking the hatchet. I believe in very surgical approach.
That includes waiting to see if measures announced earlier this month will work. The closure of strip clubs, reduced hours for restaurants and bars, and going back to a 10-person limit on private gatherings.
My prediction would be that that wasn't enough and that we do need to have a stronger reaction.
It means choosing a high prevalence area like Toronto or Ottawa and being harsh with certain things, closing down indoor dining, right? Closing down all the bars.
There are new restrictions in Toronto tonight, but those were imposed by the city, including reducing numbers at bars and restaurants. But there's hope, too, for business owners like the Yeltsin brothers. All year outdoor dining may be on the table, so this patio may truly pay off. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, Quebec has a similar case count to Ontario's, but it's taking a totally different approach. After effectively locking down much of the province, it is now ramping up punishments for rule breakers. Alison Northcott explains what is new tonight.
Lining up for something that will soon be off limits, visiting the museum.
It's the last day to be here, and I thought I should utilize the opportunity.
Effective at midnight, new restrictions in 3 parts of Quebec. Movie theaters and bars will close, restaurants limited to takeout and delivery.
We just wanted to grab a bite before they all close down and, support local businesses, I guess.
Now, the government has to enforce the new rules, which also include a ban on private gatherings inside and out.
If you're inviting guests for a party, you're breaking the law.
So it's giving police more tools to issue tickets on the spot for some violations and get warrants more quickly, remotely, so they can enter homes where they suspect illegal gatherings are happening if the homeowner won't cooperate.
Be very fast and easier, to give a fine of $1,000.
Also new, mandatory masks at protests, even when the protest itself is against masks, like this one in Montreal tonight. Protesters who don't comply after today could be fined $1,000. For some, giving more tools to police raises serious concerns.
Finding solution for people to continue their life without necessarily being together is best than giving more power to police officers. As we know, there's a lot of abuses, of brutality and everything. So this just opens also new doors to that.
The first thing is really keeping the message clear.
This behavioral science expert says enforcement can be effective to get compliance quickly, but the messaging around it is key.
You need to give them reasons. You need to show them how you are personally going to benefit from adhering to these policies, how we're all going to benefit, not just the vulnerable and the sick.
The Premier said it is urgent to act because negligence on the part of a small number of people is putting lives at stake. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
So similar situations, very different responses, at least at the moment. Let's bring in Dr. Lenore Saxinger. So here we have two provinces, Dr. Quebec, Ontario, similar case counts, but one is reintroducing restrictions, the other is not. From a public health perspective, what's your evaluation of those responses?
It's actually very hard to know what the right answer is for that right now. There's a lot of complex considerations in putting in restrictions and taking them off, but I would say it's important that if we are unable to contain infection rise through testing and tracing and isolating, if that looks like it's in jeopardy, it becomes very important to look at the restrictions again. And it's simply if we can't turn it around another way. So I think that time will tell which one of those responses turns out to be more correct, because it's really unclear, actually.
So other provinces have to be watching what's going on in Quebec and Ontario with a fair amount of concern. So what should their takeaway from the case counts and the responses in those two places be?
Well, I think it tells us that, I mean, we might be sick of COVID, but COVID is not yet sick of us. And if we let down our guard, our numbers will continue to rise. And that if we manage to contain it without more restrictions, we'll be able to keep things the way they are. And if we cannot, we will have to go back to restrictions. And so I think it really becomes a question of how to communicate the most important priority mitigation measures that are voluntary. And if that doesn't work, we have to move to the public health restrictions.
Dr. Saxinger, thanks very much. We'll see you a little bit later in the program.
Thank you.
While Canada waits for a vaccine, Health Canada has now greenlit an effective rapid testing machine for COVID-19. The US-made device could help perform millions more tests. A nasal or throat swab sample is plugged into the machine's analyzer, which can detect COVID in just minutes. Canada has already announced it will buy almost 8 million of them. And the federal government is extending international travel restrictions for at least another month. In a tweet, the Minister of Public Safety, Bill Blair, says they will now last until October 31st. The restrictions apply to anyone entering Canada from a country other than the U.S. The border, meanwhile, remains closed to non-essential travel until October 21st, with a possible extension looming. In the midst of last night's raucous, messy presidential debate, there was one stunning moment. Donald Trump was asked to condemn white supremacists. He did not. Instead, he seemingly offered encouragement. Katie Simpson looks at the reaction.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
The man who nearly spit out his beer. That's Gavin McInnes, the Canadian founder of the right-wing extremist group, the Proud Boys. He watched the debate while doing a podcast.
Did you say Proud Boys stand down and stand back?
He did a general command. He's the general of the Proud Boys.
I control the Proud Boys, Donald.
The group is known for violence, racism, and hate. And while it has Canadian roots, pockets of support have sprung up in response to American anti-racism protests. When asked directly last night, the president didn't condemn the group.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
What Donald Trump said appeared to energize the Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by was adapted into its logo and shared online.
He knows these people support him, so he won't call them out.
He does this over and over again, and he will play the race card because he's a racist.
The backlash did seem to get to Trump, and by this afternoon, he clarified his position.
I don't know who Proud Boys are, but whoever they are, they have to stand down, let law enforcement do their work.
Trump supporters at a debate watching party cheered when he defended his record on racism and unrest. There is raw anger about protests and looting, which have divided the country since the police killing of George Floyd.
So what are we talking about? A few abusive police that went after people in the black community? They go after white people too. You have to get rid of the abusive police.
Anger helped Trump win in 2016. He's looking to rely on that again this time. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Cleveland, Ohio.
The president also drilled down last night on an oft-repeated theme, the possibility, indeed the probability, of sweeping election fraud should he lose, of course. Susan Ormston looks at the fallout from an unprecedented debate.
Put away, Joe. After that chaotic debate, Joe Biden left town on a train to campaign, but with a parting jab at his opponent.
The President of the United States conducting himself the way he did, I think was just a national embarrassment.
President Trump, departing for his own rally in Minnesota, returned the compliment.
By every measure, we won the debate easily last night. I think he was very weak. He looked weak. He was whining.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
would you answer that question?
Last night was as much brawl as debate. So disruptive.
Will you shut up, man?
The debate commission promised today it would amend the rules for the next two, perhaps adding a kill switch on the mics.
Keep yapping, man.
Again, Trump lobbed a veiled threat that this election would be rigged.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm, not to engage in any civil unrest? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen.
I have your ballot here today.
Implying that ballot fraud will lead to a dirty result that he won't automatically accept, in spite of multiple studies which show no coordinated major election voting fraud.
Ballots are being sent to cats that have been dead for 12 years.
Post-debate, Trump's family piled on the flawed election theme.
Donald Trump has to win by such an overwhelming margin of victory on November 3rd. They cannot dispute the results of this election, no matter how many dead cats are voting.
He already began to plant seeds of doubt in the legitimacy of this election. I don't know any president's ever done that before.
Many Americans say they woke up to a kind of debate hangover with some fading confidence for a smooth election. There were some calls to cancel the two remaining debates, but both Biden and Trump's campaign teams say they'll be there, especially as more than 65 million Americans watched that political slugfest. Susan Ormston, CBC News, Washington.
4 Quebec men have been charged in connection with the alleged kidnapping of an elderly couple from upstate New York. James and Sandra Helm were reported missing over the weekend, but they were found safe yesterday at this lakeside home about an hour and a half east of Montreal. Officials from both sides of the border worked on the investigation. The 4 suspects are facing charges of kidnapping, forcible confinement, extortion, and conspiracy. A bus tour in Jasper National Park this July left 3 people dead and 24 injured. And as Carolyn Dunn explains, survivors are now suing and showing how much ruin that crash left behind.
It took just seconds for the tour bus to careen off the road and land down an embankment on its roof. 2.5 months later, many of the surviving passengers are struggling.
It's been really tough, especially with the physical injuries. It's been a hard time for us. I have over 20 fractures, and the pain that I go through every day.
Shweta Patel says neither she nor her husband are well enough to work. They're struggling financially and emotionally.
I was one of the lucky ones who survived the crash, but my uncle and friend were not.
The Patels are among a group to file a $17 million lawsuit against the tour bus company. 6 passengers who survived but have suffered serious physical and mental damages from spinal injuries to PTSD, and the estate of a 7th who died as a result of the crash.
In short, the company failed to mitigate against potential risks and owed the passengers of the bus a higher safety of care.
The suit says that includes putting seatbelts on the bus, training its drivers better, and keeping vehicles mechanically sound. The RCMP is still investigating what caused the crash. The tour company Pursuit said it is cooperating with that investigation, and further, we have been committed to supporting those in the incident, their families, and our staff with any immediate and ongoing needs. Shweta Patel says she hasn't heard from them.
It has been strange how they have not offered any help.
It could be another 3 months before the investigation into the cause of the crash is complete, and likely longer for the lawsuit to be resolved. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
Conservative leader Erin O'Toole was back on Parliament Hill today. He was in isolation after a positive COVID-19 test. Today, he hit back at last week's Liberal throne speech.
Canada doesn't need another slogan or a hashtag. It needs a plan. And that, Madam Speaker, is why so many Canadians feel left out of this prorogation, scandal-avoiding throne speech.
Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet also returned to his seat today after self-isolating for 2 weeks.
Some people go through it much more painfully than I did. I was very, very, very lucky.
Blanchet and his wife tested positive for COVID-19 earlier this month. We live in an age of extinction, species vanishing at a breathtaking pace. But a UN coalition of countries has pledged to protect biodiversity. Its biggest member now is Canada. But as Tashana Reid explains, promises are just the beginning.
La protection de la nature.
One by one, stakeholders and global leaders address the world, among them Canada.
It's now more important than ever that we do more to restore the balance of nature, protect plant and animal species, and sustain our planet.
Along with the rhetoric, a pledge to protect 30% of Canada's land and oceans by the year 2030.
We need to partner with Indigenous peoples, root our decisions in science, and seek local perspectives to build a healthier and more resilient planet.
As of 2019, Canada conserved 12.1% of its land and freshwater and 13.8% of its marine territory. Part of that work is being done by Indigenous-led conservation.
The people that are out on the land will be the ones that can provide really valuable and important and timely information to inform our strategies for biodiversity loss and climate change.
This Indigenous Guardian program is in 70 communities across Canada, collecting data and monitoring sensitive areas and species.
We have been marginalized by the forces of colonization, but at the same time, we offer a gift and a solution to biodiversity loss.
But conservation groups say to meet this new monumental target, Canada will have to act and invest now.
We're going to have to nearly double our protected areas in Canada over the next 5 years.
And protecting biodiversity will benefit the efforts to counter other crises.
We've seen, in fact, the connection between the rising vulnerability of pandemics like COVID-19 and the loss of nature.
As Canada leads the way, the hope is the world's top emitters, the U.S. and China, will get on board ahead of their next global summit. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
We are hearing from families out thousands of dollars for school trips canceled due to the pandemic.
I don't think I'm going to get my money back, and that's the honest truth.
Ahead on The National, why they're still fighting for a refund, even with insurance. And as COVID-19 cases surge across Europe, how has Italy, once the epicenter, managed to control the spread? And police raid a luxury mansion filled with cash and guns.
We arrested 29 people.
What investigators say went on inside. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expressing confidence about the UK's ability to deal with coronavirus this winter. That confidence might be more easily accepted if cases weren't surging and if he didn't seem so muddled about his own policy. Margaret Evans shows us how that is playing out.
One rule to confuse them all, even, it would seem, the government imposing it. This was the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson yesterday, asked to explain how England's rule of 6 on social distancing will work in areas facing greater restrictions as of today.
You should follow the guidance of local authorities, but it's 6 in a home or 6 in hospitality, but as I understand it, not 6 outside.
Not quite. And soon Johnson was tweeting out an apology.
Just trying to understand one rule and then another one comes in and then you're thinking, oh well.
It's just very confusing of what to do. It's changing every single day.
There's no doubt, though, that Britain's numbers are headed in the wrong direction. More than 7,000 new infections in a 24-hour period for 2 days running now. Today, Johnson and his medical advisors warned against complacency.
A tragic increase in the number of daily deaths, with 71 yesterday and again today. And these figures show why our plan is so essential.
The Labour opposition party says it's starting to question just what the plan is.
There does need to be the strategy, there needs to be clear communications, and test, trace and isolate still hasn't been fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Johnson is also facing criticism from some of his own Conservative backbenchers who accuse him of trying to bypass Parliament by rushing through coronavirus measures. And today there was a rebuke from the Speaker of the House.
I now look to the government to rebuild the trust with this House and not treat it with the contempt that it has shown.
The Prime Minister will also have to work harder at building trust amongst ordinary people. He's seen his rating slide over his handling of the pandemic from a 65% approval rating earlier in the year to just 30% most recently. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Italy was once an epicenter of the pandemic, but that's changed significantly. Today, it had 1,800 new cases. That's a fraction of Spain's 11,000 and France's nearly 13,000. Well, those countries are taking new measures to reduce the spread. Renee Filipponi looks at how Italy appears to have gotten things right.
In a city that suffered so much, a sense of normal is slowly and safely reappearing in Milan.
People are trying to move on and they're being strong enough to continue their lives.
And for a place hit so hard early on, the trauma of it all remains fresh. I was extremely frightened by the situation, all the sick and dead, says Alessandro Della Sera. That's why he wears a mask all the time now. It's moments like this Della Sera can't forget. A caravan of military trucks in badly hit Bergamo, loaded with coffins.
My country was hit very, very hardly, and I think...
This prominent virologist says the long and strict initial lockdown is now a motivator for Italians. Entire towns with COVID outbreaks were deemed red zones and put behind police roadblocks.
We don't want to go back to that, and I think that this is really one of the reasons that are making Italians a little bit more careful than others in this situation.
Italy also has an aggressive test and trace program. At this drive-through, people with symptoms get a swab. If positive, everyone in their circle is tested, whether they have been in contact or not. Rapid testing is also being used at some airports, with results in 30 minutes. And this week, those tests have been approved for schools, where there are growing concerns about the COVID spread since classes returned earlier this month.
We were not perfect, but we were better than others. And this is why we have less cases, but the cases will increase if we are not careful, for sure.
There have been recent spikes in other parts of the country, but not in the north. It's something workers at this struggling gelato shop worry about, where staff numbers have already dropped from 15 to 3.
I think in future will be difficult because around Italy, for example, in France, in England or in other places, the virus is present.
But for now, the people here enjoy the freedom that comes with relatively low COVID numbers. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
Earlier this year, many students in this country were anticipating school trips to Europe, and then the pandemic hit and those plans got canceled and a new heartache arrived. teenagers and their families trying to get their money back. Karen Pauls spoke with some who are still trying.
It's iconic scenes like this that Ben Wickens was most looking forward to during his grad trip last spring.
No, I've never been to Europe.
He worked hard to save 1/3 of the $3,800 cost, but the COVID-19 pandemic meant he never got to go.
So it was understandable, but it was kind of disappointing still because I was really looking forward to going.
Now the Wickens family and hundreds of others across Canada are still waiting for their refunds, even though they bought insurance.
There's very few people who can write off $4,000.
Wickens' stepmother started a Facebook group last month. She's heard from parents at more than 55 schools across the country and estimates they're owed more than $6 million.
It would be really great to get the money back.
The tour company, Explorica, declined an interview, saying it has fulfilled the obligations in the trip contract, instead pointing to a website with questions and answers. The insurance companies did not respond to interview requests, but both have told parents they're not getting the information they need from Explorica to review and process claims. Last Friday, this Newfoundland lawyer sent a letter to Explorica and the insurance companies, Old Republic and Arch.
You owe a duty to your insured to perform your contractual duties in good faith and pay these refunds out.
He's given them until Friday to respond, warning there are other legal options on the table.
I don't think I'm going to get my money back, and that's the honest truth.
Patrick Tietz paid cash for his son's French immersion trip to Quebec. Now unemployed, he could use that $4,700.
$4,700 is property tax. If it wasn't for COVID delaying the property tax, I don't know what I would be doing right now.
Parents from schools like this one say they'll keep fighting until they get their money back. Many of them have already contacted regulatory bodies hoping to get some help. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Next, with COVID-19 cases rising, we put your questions to the doctors.
How should people reevaluate their risks? For example, going to the gym or going to a restaurant.
Good question. We'll get the answer to that and much more right after the break. And later, why police raided this luxury Canadian mansion and what they say went on inside.
If we don't want our hospitals to be submerged, if we want to limit the number of deaths, we must act strongly right now.
A warning from Quebec's premier as the province tries to slow the spread of COVID-19. Starting Thursday, areas under a red alert will see further restrictions, including a ban on most home gatherings and closing indoor dining at restaurants. In Ontario, officials aren't ruling out a rollback on reopening plans, with new cases projected to hit 1,000 per day by mid-October. As cases rise in many parts of the country, Canadians have been left trying to make sense of this and what it means for them.
I don't know what's contributing to the high numbers. I'm not sure if it's the restaurants or if it's the schools reopening.
There's a lot of talk about whose responsibility it is, whether it's the government or individuals.
To help answer some of your questions and your concerns, we have brought in infectious disease specialist Dr. Lenore Saxinger and Dr. Zane Chagla. So, Dr. Chagla, if I can start with you, in parts of Canada, especially Ontario and Quebec, we are seeing these daily case counts rising. It is really worrying, but is it the daily infection numbers that present the most important statistic? Is that what we should be focusing on?
I mean, they're one piece of the puzzle. And so we know COVID is spreading in our communities, but we really have to get a good assessment of what the impact is in terms of our hospitalizations, as well as what the impacts are on further spread in the community and getting things under control. So, for example, from a hospital standpoint, knowing the number of admissions and particularly ICU stays, as that may change health systems capacity and how we deal with non-COVID patients. But also from a community standpoint, if these are related to single cases or they're related to pre-existing clusters, if they're in vulnerable settings like long-term cares and group homes. And then finally, just how we're doing as a system. So how fast are people able to get testing from their symptoms, how fast people get results from when they get testing, and how fast that contact tracing happens. So When those measures are going well and the percent positivity is low, that's usually a good sign that the system's able to compensate and things will improve. But if those indicators are all going out of whack, then we're probably going to see more transmission, and that's probably a better marker than the daily case count.
So, Dr. Saxinger, the number of cases is so different depending on where you live. So for people out west in BC and Alberta, for example, what should they be taking from the infection numbers there?
Well, I'm kind of perceiving the situation in BC and Alberta as being kind of more of a slow burn scenario, which is like non-reassuring, sustained numbers. They don't seem to be taking off very rapidly in any given direction, but there does appear to be a climb. And what I'm worrying about right now is really whether or not we're going to see spillover of cases into more vulnerable populations, because so far we haven't seen that much of an impact in terms of hospital admissions, mostly because a lot of the cases have been in younger people, and we just don't see as many people getting severely ill in that group. But in other jurisdictions, we have seen cases that are mostly in the 20 to 40-year-olds start to spill over into, elderly populations, and that becomes a really big concern. So I'm looking at the ages of the cases as well as the numbers, because that's where we start to see a change in how we have to manage things.
Okay, fair enough. So many people are wondering what they should do to minimize risk in their day-to-day lives. So Dr. Chagla, this one is for you. This is a question from Lauren Hummel in Toronto.
With the rise of cases every day, how should people reevaluate their risks? For example, going to the gym or going to a restaurant.
Dr. Chagla?
So it brings up a really good point. Everyone's risk is not the same in all of this. And as we've gone through COVID-19, we know that a person that's under 20 is less likely to have a bad outcome than someone that's over 80. We have a lot of things that are open to society, but it's not necessarily that every person should engage with every aspect of society. So for example, if you're an 80-year-old who has medical issues, maybe going to a bar, a gym, or a restaurant, or a church congregation setting is not the wisest idea, even though the risk of acquiring the infection is going to be the same as a 20-year-old, slightly higher than doing things that are safer, like being outdoors or being indoors without significant contacts. We know the complications are going to be different. As the case numbers do rise, the risk of someone coming into those establishments does go up too, and there's an incremental risk at every step. So it's important that people just evaluate that. The people that have very low risks and are not in contact with people that are high risk could theoretically do a bit of more of the stuff in society that poses a little bit higher risk of acquisition. But the people that are higher risk, or the people that are around people of higher risk, should really think about how they're engaging with society and what the downstream effects of that are.
It is really hard to make decisions, though, when we don't know a lot about where these new cases are coming from. So, Dr. Saxinger, we got this question from Barbara Fife in Renfrew, Ontario.
I would like to know about the new cases of COVID-19 every day. Were they wearing masks and or social distancing? If yes, then how did they get the virus?
Good question.
That is a good question. I think, to be honest, there are examples of places where they really publicize where cases occur and where they've been while they were infectious. And it's very, very transparent. I think our systems are not necessarily set up to do that as well. I actually think there would be some value in getting more examples of situations of spread. I know that there have been, for example, some publicly discussed cases of spread in a family gathering scenario, where I think it's very valuable to go over what happened, because it helps people define what the risk is in a better way. So I would actually also like to perhaps start seeing more examples of transmission, of course, maintaining the public, confidentiality without naming individuals to a degree that they'd be able to be identified. Because a lot of the cases that I'm aware of personally actually are occurring in close contact scenarios where people are not necessarily taking those precautions, because it is with, family, for example, and their guard gets let down. And it's valuable to know that.
Yeah, this is the difficult balance, right, between transparency and privacy. We somehow need both. Both of you, Dr. Saxinger, Dr. Chagla, once again, thank you very, very much.
No problem. All the best.
Ahead tonight, a prison sentence for a key figure in the NXIVM sex cult. And later, a polar bear leaves its mark on a search and rescue helicopter. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Newfoundland and Labrador tabled its budget today, forecasting a deficit of almost $2 billion. The pandemic hit the province's major industries, especially the oil sector. Chris O'Neill-Yates shows it's far from just the government feeling the pain of a downturn.
Driving a truck hadn't figured into Jeremy Jestican's career plans.
Yeah, I've been off ever since March 19th and taking jobs here or there, whatever I can get.
Jestican, like many others, had landed a high-paying job in the offshore oil industry. He thought he had a job for life when he got hired as a scaffolder on the Hibernia platform after moving home from Alberta.
They had told us that we'd have a lot of work coming up, and for many years, lots of oil left out there and an extension, and then COVID came around.
That changed everything.
Sent hundreds home in the span of a couple weeks.
Since then, Jestican has taken many lower-paying jobs. But it's work, and with 3 young kids, he couldn't turn it down.
It's hard to say no to them, like one time you never had to, for the past few years.
Oil has been an economic lifeline for the province. Hundreds of high-paying jobs. Last year, oil royalties put $1 billion into provincial revenue. But it's half that much this year, largely because of COVID-19. And the province faces an almost $2 billion deficit.
You really have very little control over the volatility of the commodity.
Andrew Parsons is the province's Minister of Energy. Even with this downturn, Parsons is still committed to oil.
I tell you what, there's absolutely no intent on the part of this government, or I think anybody, to give up on this industry.
The newest project, Husky's $2.2 billion West White Rose, is stalled. The company says it can't afford to proceed in the current global market. Jestican isn't sure he can wait for a rebound in oil. He's thinking of retraining for another job.
Job searching is very competitive right now, as so many people out of work. I know these guys here, they had engineers applying for labor jobs. Just people looking for anything at all.
But Jestican's hope is still to return to his job offshore. A very tall order, as the pandemic shows no signs of abating. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, St. John's.
Meanwhile, a small community in Alberta is enjoying an economic boom. Its population nearly doubled, largely due to a pipeline construction project. But as Kyle Bax tells us, the future of that project still hangs in the balance.
The dinner rush has just begun, and already the cooks are saucing and tossing as many wings as they can, trying to keep up with orders. It's a weekday evening, but this bar is full no matter the day of the week.
There's people that come out every day and have supper here. It'd be like our busiest summer month, but continuously.
Such is life these days in Oyen, a farming community that is ground zero for construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. Oyen is home to about 1,000 people, but since the spring, the population has doubled. And the workers keep coming from all over the country as construction ramps up. And after work, many pour into town.
Been here a few times, the Overtime Pub, grocery stores.
Sales are up at just about every shop in town. At the same time, the rest of the province's economy is sputtering.
Everybody in Oyen, the people and the businesses are all grateful that it's happening here.
The boom in business is especially welcome during the pandemic, when many shops were expecting a tough year.
That's huge for us, especially just taking over. You know, this will be our second year of ownership, so it really helps us out lots.
As the people here get another taste of an oil boom, they try to savor it. The community is well aware there is no guarantee the massive project will ever be completed. There is stiff opposition south of the border that could jeopardize the pipeline's future.
We cannot take this for granted. We know that we are lucky, and we want to, I'm not going to say take advantage, but we are riding the boom, right? It's just a great time to have it here.
That's why, for now, in this town, the focus is on enjoying the boom while it lasts. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Oyen, Alberta.
Next, a luxury Canadian mansion now the scene of a police takedown. Why police say you needed an invitation to get inside.
I'm Josh Block. Tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, Ontario is now in the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. What will it take to keep it from becoming a tsunami? Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
A U.S. judge has sentenced the Seagram's heir, Clare Bronfman, to almost 7 years in prison for her role in the NXIVM sex cult case with ties to Canada. Bronfman pleaded guilty last year to identity theft and immigration fraud. She bankrolled Keith Raniere, the disgraced leader of the group. He has already been convicted of sex trafficking and coercing women into sex. And in a dramatic bust near Toronto, police revealed what you might see in a garish Hollywood crime thriller: a lavish underworld casino overflowing with guns and cash. And as Greg Ross explains, it was all hidden behind the gates of a palatial mansion.
It was an investigation that lasted months, dubbed Project Endgame by police. This is a video from a police raid of the mansion in Markham on July 23rd, and police say what they found inside was nothing short of shocking.
We arrested 29 people, including the owner-operator, and seized 11 firearms with thousands of ammunition, gaming tables and machines, and $1 million of cash.
Police had some of these items on display today, including this AR-15 rifle found in one of the bedrooms.
This firearm was fully loaded with a 30-round magazine and available within easy access to anyone in the room.
Police called it a high-tech operation, complete with armed guards and high-tech video surveillance. Police say gaining access to these gates was by invite only. But once inside, clients were offered bed and breakfast style accommodations, a casino with gaming tables and slot machines, as well as a number of other expensive services.
Gamblers had access to accommodation, spa treatments, high-end food, and beverage services. Human sex trafficking is also suspected and is under investigation. Also in the basement was a full cash bar with over 4,000 bottles of top-shelf alcohol and a full wine cellar valued at $1.5 million.
In all, 29 people were charged, facing a total of 74 offenses. They were all Canadian residents, but police say it's quite possible this gaming house had clientele that spanned the globe.
We heard the same or had the same intelligence that people were coming from all over, essentially, but also from China to gamble at this location.
Police have seized all of the gambling equipment and the mansion itself, which they say is valued at $9 million. Greg Ross, CBC News, Markham, Ontario.
Next on the National, an overnight visitor left its mark on a search and rescue helicopter. So this is what the chopper looked like in the morning, a moment of surprise in tonight's moment. This is the messy, slightly muddy aftermath of a battle of sorts between a Canadian search and rescue helicopter and a curious culprit. So a polar bear snuck onto the tarmac where the helicopter was parked for the night. It wasn't hard for the mystery to be solved with all the evidence it left behind. The early morning discovery is tonight's moment.
We sent a crew up to it's a fairly remote site in northern Labrador. We sent a crew up there to do some Arctic and mountain search and rescue training because we don't have that kind of terrain down here in Nova Scotia. But unfortunately, the weather that day was not very good, so we had to leave the helicopter down below at the airfield. As luck would have it, the airfield appears to be between two bodies of water, and polar bear looks like sometime in the night when no one was at the helicopter went for a little stroll and decided to check it out, and damaged a few panels and left some nice big paw prints on the side of the helicopter. And one of the emergency exit windows had actually been pushed into the helicopter, which is not normal. And to top it off, there's some fairly large, smudgy, large paw prints all over the outside of the helicopter. It kind of gave it away who the culprit was. We suspect he probably was just curious because there was no food of any kind left in the helicopter. You know, you can't make this up, only in search and rescue, because it's never a boring job.
Now, it can't be a boring job, but also maybe not surprising that the polar bear was there because it was right next to a fjord that was photographed last year by National Geographic and called the best place in the world to see polar bears. So maybe not a surprise. That is a National for September 30th. Good night.